Hey everyone, good to see you. My name is Bob Krulish and I help people survive bipolar disorder, but not how you might think. But before I get started, if you're tired of what you've been trying to do and you want something new, I did put a free video out. It's at bipolarcourse.com. It's all about bipolar survival skills, and you can go to that just by typing in bipolarcourse.com. People come to me because they've heard from many different sources that I live well with bipolar disorder, and I've advised many, many others on how to do that. They want to survive bipolar disorder for both themselves and their loved ones. I can only imagine the kind of chaos that bipolar disorder has created in your life, and I'm so sorry that you have to deal with that. And even though they've read everything online, people that come to me, they've read everything, they've gone to meetings, and they know what others know, they know just about everything else that others know, they still can't get their loved one into remission. Or if they do, they can't seem to get him or her to stay in remission. And I understand that. And they tell me that makes them very angry and frustrated, sad, overwhelmed. And the worst thing is to be hopeless, to just feel like this is never going to end. If that sounds familiar to you, don't beat yourself up for it. That's for sure. A lot of people are in the same situation. It's not your fault. There just isn't a lot of good information on how to survive bipolar disorder out there, especially for the supporters. I can totally relate. I have bipolar disorder myself, and when I found myself diagnosed, I got no information about what to do and how to live. I just was handed some prescriptions, and my doctor said, "Hope they work." I'm like, "Hope they work? I hope you're a doctor." You know what I'm saying? One of the biggest things I discovered was that my education, what I knew about my illness, was in direct proportion to my wellness. When I didn't know much, I wasn't well. But the more I learned, the better I got. It took me years, though. It took me 4 or 5 years because there just isn't very many resources out there. And I didn't know anybody that was well enough to mentor me. I had to figure out things all by myself. And the thing I tell people now is the main thing I discovered was that education brings wellness. Education brings wellness. And that's why I do these Facebook Lives for you. Like in a little bit, we're going to talk about triggers. But by the way, let me just remind you, if you really want to try something new, then I encourage you to go to bipolarcourse.com and learn more about how you can educate yourself in a way that will bring wellness to your loved one and to the rest of your family. But let's talk about triggers for a minute. And what are triggers? Now, triggers set off a mood. And a lot of times what I say is that if there's no trigger, there's really no mood offset. And they're external things that come from outside the person. They're not internal things. And that's the same thing that's probably what's going on with your loved ones. They just get into a mood. They get into a mood for no good reason whatsoever. And some of these things don't matter to anybody else but that person. Some examples could be that they're just overly tired. Tired would trigger a manic mood in a minute, especially if they've not been getting a lot of sleep over a long period of time. Stress, excessive stress, or not even excessive stress. Stress could trigger a mood. Family friction is a big one, and that's part of the education, is so that the whole family can understand what's going on, so they have what's called less expressed emotion. But expressed emotion, high expressed emotion in a family brings on a lot of bad moods. If they spend too much time alone and they don't like that, if they've been judged or criticized, financial problems, like with any of us, cause us to have a mood upset. But with bipolar, remember that all of their emotions are not regulated. They're not regulated well. So when they get emotionally upset about financial problems, it is at a level of like 90. There's no 1 to 10 for us. There's like 0 to infinity. And so a physical illness might stress them into a mood episode. Um, Extreme guilt. We feel a lot of guilt about what we've done in the past, and that can set me into a mood in a minute. I have to really manage what I think about all the time. And finally, the one example I'll give is that people just don't like to be told how to run their life. And so we always have this conflict between giving good advice and giving it unwelcomed advice. And most of us with bipolar disorder, we take advice almost always as being unwelcome. And so those are some things. Now it's important that you sit down and try to discover among your family members, the supporters, and if your loved one's willing to do this with you, your loved one, and try to make a list of the things that are triggers. Now I talk more about this in the bipolar course that you can find again at bipolarcourse.com, and we go into a deep dive about this and about how to properly share this information among your loved ones. The biggest thing I can say, the most important thing I can say right now is you just don't want to argue about the triggers. If your loved one says that's not a trigger, then that's not a trigger. If your loved one says the way you look at me in the morning is a trigger, then it is a trigger. Don't sit there and go, what are you talking about? How do I look at you? Just write it down. Just write it down, and then be thinking about it in the future that might be a trigger for your loved one. Okay, I hope this helps a lot. If there's any questions, just let me know, and I'll be happy to answer them for you in the comment section. Please also comment, and if you'd like to write bipolarcourse.com in the comment section, that helps spread the word around Facebook for me, and I appreciate your time, and I hope this helped. And until I see you again, take the very best care of yourself, and bye for now.